What happens if you suddenly find yourself inside the body of a stranger who just ended his own life and discover the world around you is filled with secrets beyond imagination? The episode introduces Beyonders, humans gaining extraordinary abilities by consuming potions, following 22 pathways to divinity. A lower sequence number means greater power, with top-tier Beyonders wielding divine strength. On September 9, 1349, in Tingen City's final moments, a Beyonder battles a monster. The monster injures him, then destroys the city. Rewind to June 28, 1349, a man awakens. Disoriented, seeing blood and a gun, a sudden headache hits, but a head wound magically heals. A voice whispers Klein. Confused, he checks a mirror, realizing he's transmigrated into someone else's body. Detectives find Welch and Naya, history graduates from Koi University, dead. Police suspect suicide, but a black magic ritual or Beyonder sacrifice that awakened an evil force is also considered. Klein Moretti, their classmate, is pictured with them. Having lost his parents, Klein lives with his siblings. The transmigrated man is Joe Mingrui from the future. He reads Klein's diary, learning Welch brought an ancient notebook. Deciphering the first page, they found it was a 4th epoch notebook by an Antigonus family member. Joe notes a missing June 27th entry. A chilling page states, "Everyone will die, and I will too." Klein's younger sister, Melissa, enters. Joe quickly hides the blood and gun, acting like Klein. After she leaves, he cleans the blood. His head wound is completely healed. Joe wonders if Klein committed suicide or was murdered. As his memories are fragmented, he's certain the ancient notebook is involved. He questions his own transmigration, recalling a luck enhancement ritual he performed before dinner, suspecting it as the cause. Melissa gives Klein food, promising a good dinner as he works hard for a job. Joe finds it odd Melissa didn't. Here, a gunshot. Feeling unsafe, he plans to retry the ritual to return home. Klein goes to buy bread. Sensing someone watching, he observes the sun. Noting its similarity, realizing it's a parallel universe, he sees people playing Landlord, a game he knows Roselle Gustav invented 100 years ago, along with tarot reading and steamships. Joe suspects Roselle was also a transmigrator. His coin drops. He senses someone. Reaching for his gun, he sees a clown inviting him to the circus. He again suspects he's being followed and ducks into a tarot reading shop. The reader offers a free reading for her first customer. Joe agrees, wanting to know his past, present, and future. She draws 3 cards. His present is the Fool, card 0, representing new beginnings. The true tarot reader then arrives, dismissing her employee. Joe notices his pursuer entering and slips away home. Joe attempts the luck enhancement ritual again. Nothing happens, but his head throbs. A red mark appears, and talismans vanish. Red light fills his room. He finds himself in a gray fog realm. Accidentally touching a red and blue stone, he summons a girl and a boy from different worlds. They can't see each other through the fog, but sense Klein's presence above them, thinking him their leader. The girl asks if he owns this divine realm. Klein is confused, noting no shrine. A building suddenly materializes. Klein realizes he can manipulate the gray fog like a game hack, creating a table and throne. The summoned boy asks Klein his identity. Klein, unsure if he's Joe or Klein, calls himself the Fool and summons chairs. The girl asks to leave. Fool agrees. Impressed by the supernatural, the girl asks how to become a Beyonder. Klein, clueless, deflects to the boy. The boy explains that Beyonders gain power through churches but face great danger fighting darkness. The girl refuses to lose her freedom to a church. The boy suggests the royal family. The boy then reveals he has to sequence 9 potions. Sailor and audience, Klein realizes they're discussing supernatural powers and ability levels. He wonders if his gray fog and transmigration are Beyonder powers. The girl makes a deal. For a potion, asking Fool to witness, Klein agrees. She then asks for more gatherings. The boy confirms Fool's power to summon them. Fool, fearing exposure, but needing information to return home, agrees to weekly Monday 3 p.m. gatherings, stressing secrecy. They decide on codenames. The girl chooses Justice, and the boy chooses Hanged Man, forming the Tarot Club. Klein's head hurts, and he loses stamina. He ends the meeting. The others return to their worlds. Klein regains consciousness. Police are at his door. Panicked, he hides his revolver and diary. Through the keyhole, he sees Leonard Mitchell, the man who is following him. Klein opens the door, feigning sleep. Leonard confirms he's police, trying to help. His partner, Dunn Smith, tells Klein his friends, Welch and Naya, committed suicide. Klein is shocked. Leonard finds Klein's diary entry stating everyone, including him, will die. Klein, flustered, claims no memory. Dunn reveals Klein was at Welch's on June 27th and a revolver is missing. Klein, panicking, reveals the gun's location. Dunn retrieves it, asking for more info. Klein confesses he tried to commit suicide but failed and began losing his memory. Dunn finds this hard to believe, but suggests a psychic test to recover memories. Klein fears exposure of his Earth memories and being a transmigrator. As they lead Klein away, he stops. A boy steals bread. Dunn stops him. The boy accidentally kicks bamboo, spooking the police horses, distracting them. Klein escapes into an alley suddenly. Water above him freezes, and nearby objects begin moving strangely. Realizing a Beyonder is present, he evades the anomalies and jumps into a carriage. Relieved, he tells the driver to stop, but the driver continues. Revealing he's going to Welch's house, it's Dunn. Klein wakes, realizing it was a dream. His door opens, and Dunn is there. Frightened, Klein wonders if Dunn manipulated his dreams, suspecting him of being a Beyonder. Dunn states their power increases at night. The room shatters, and the girl from the gray fog appears, calmly entering Klein's mind. Klein sees his Earth parents. He fears the girl will see his parents and expose his secret, but realizes she can't. Perhaps due to the gray fog, the girl asks about the Antigonus family notebook. Klein denies knowing. When she asks what he was doing when Welch and Naya died, a gun appears in his hand and he shoots himself. He wakes, asking if he passed a test. The girl tells Dunn that Klein shot himself, but is somehow alive, and his memories are gone, like Welch's and Naya's. She calls the affecting power fearful and warns Dunn. Dunn confirms the Antigonus family notebook is still missing. He tells Klein he's in danger, and they can't protect him forever, offering him the choice to become a Beyonder. Klein accepts Smith's card and heads to a bar, risking exposure to unravel the mysteries. He uses a code. The bartender asks who sent him, naming Smith. Klein is directed to a lift, leading to a security company office. He meets clerk Rosen, who recognizes him and takes him to a secret Beyonder base. There, Klein meets Leonard and learns that Beyonder's work has increased. Rosen explains different Beyonder types before sending him to Captain Smith. Klein enters Smith's room, announcing his decision to become a Beyonder. Smith recruits him into the police's Special Operations Department. Klein questions the security company facade. Smith reveals it's a front for the Church of the Evernight Goddess, handling supernatural incidents. He warns Klein that becoming a Nighthawk risks losing control. Smith takes him to a graveyard, showing him the graves of colleagues who went out of control and died. Smith asks Klein about the myth of creation. Klein recounts a creator rising from destruction, forming light, sun, moon, land, stars, phoenixes from hair, and demonic wolves from ears. Smith explains their shared origin, noting humans can create potions from mystical items to gain powers, reaffirming the 22 pathways, as the Hanged Man also told Klein. Smith informs Klein that the Church of Evernight Goddess uses for sequence 9 potions: the Sleepless Pathway, Complete Sleep; the Corpse Collector, Self-Defense; and Mystery Prior, or Seer, Mysterious Abilities. The latter 2 aren't for fighting. The Church only has the Seer Pathways, Sequence 9 potion. Klein must decide and meet Old Neil for guidance. Klein leaves, considering his options. He needs knowledge of mysteries, ruling out Sleepless and Corpse Collector. He's left with Mystery, Prior, and Seer, needing to choose the better. He finds Neil in the alchemy room, performing experiments. Neil tells him to sort documents before choosing his sequence, observing him. Neil mentions decoding Emperor Rosel's book for a long time. Notebooks went missing after Rosel's death. Rosel's book contains strange symbols with hidden powers, but no one has fully decoded it for 150 years. Neil's decoding suggests it's Rosel's diary. Klein instantly recognizes the Chinese script, which is from Earth, not understood by anyone. Here, Klein reads, discovering potion information, hoping it could lead him home. Roselle wrote that the Seer and the Marauder were good choices, which Klein doesn't understand. Neil brings Klein back to reality. Klein tells Neil he was trying to decode the diary. Neil laughs, finding it impossible. Neil asks about his potion choice. Following Roselle's diary, Klein chooses the Seer pathway. Neil stresses it's a permanent choice. Klein assures him, and Neil begins potion creation, mixing materials with a machine. Klein is nervous. Neil reassures him, saying hesitation hinders absorption. Klein drinks the potion. His body changes. Everything blurs. Neil tells him to focus on a common object. Klein thinks of a hat. Neil then tells him to think of an object that doesn't exist in this world. Klein thinks of earth objects, making the room tremble. Neil instructs him to control his spirituality and imagination. Klein thinks of more things, causing more tremors. Darkness engulfs him, then a light gathers and shatters. Klein's eyes open, and he sees an aura. Neil congratulates him on becoming a seer, explaining he's using his spirit vision to see health conditions. Klein sees 2 eyes and tells Neil. Neil dismisses them as ritualistic, magical representations. Klein's head hurts. Neil explains prolonged spirit vision use affects spirituality and causes illusions. To turn it off, he must tap between his eyebrows twice. Klein taps, and his spirit vision deactivates. Neil adds he can also use his spirituality. For divination arts, Neil gives Klein demon hunting bullets. Klein meets Smith, who is already informed by Neil about Klein's successful power use. Smith tells Klein he'll be a clerk before becoming an official Nighthawk, advancing his salary. He tells Klein to buy a cane for his daily tasks. As Klein leaves, Leonard takes him in a carriage, reporting a boy's kidnapping. Klein asks why Beyonders are doing this. Leonard explains they're a security company for the public, and the boy's father is an old customer. Leonard gives Klein the boy's belongings and tells him to use his seer power to find him. Klein uses his dowsing rod and activates his spirit vision. Finding the place where the boy, Elliot, disappeared and detecting his presence, Klein guides the carriage with his dowsing rod, leading them to a house. He finds the room where Elliot is held, sensing two kidnappers with spirit vision. Leonard breaks down the door and stylishly subdues the kidnappers. Klein frees Elliot. An invisible wing appears, shattering, causing the kidnappers to behave strangely. Leonard and Klein realize they're turning into monsters. They merge into one monster. Leonard tries to fight it, but it disappears. Klein can't find it. Klein uses his rod to detect the monster. As it attacks, Klein points his gun, hesitating briefly before firing for the first time. The monster flees outside. Leonard takes it into his realm and puts it to sleep. Klein feels he's been to that place before. After returning the boy to his father, they investigate the area. Leonard tells Klein he likes him, which scares Klein. Making him leave, Leonard talks to someone who observed Klein, finding him not special. Klein returns home, but suddenly finds himself back at the mansion he'd just left, in the room where he felt he'd been before. He sees a book stating everyone will die, and then the Fool card appears. He wakes in his room, realizing the Ant family notebook clue is near the kidnapping site. Klein and Melissa have moved to a new house. Benson visits, surprised by the new home. Klein feeds them his cooking. Benson gifts Klein new clothes for his job, making Klein happy. Wearing them, he thanks his siblings, seeing his parents in them. Then we see Klein being followed. The Nighthawks capture the pursuer for investigation and discover he belongs to a secret order, a mysterious Fourth Epoch organization with ties to the Solomon Empire and the Evernight Goddess Empire. This order is known for its extreme secrecy and minimal activity. This individual was also searching for the Antigonus family diary and was following Klein, believing Klein to be the biggest clue to its location. Leonard and Dunn discuss the secret order's involvement when they receive news that Klein has a new lead on the notebook, the house next to the previous one. Inside, they find an old woman's body in an advanced state of decomposition. Klein is disgusted, but regains his senses after smelling something. The woman's son, Rebier, is missing, and the team believes he has the book. They attempt to divine Reber's location using his photo, but Klein's divining stick yields no results. A strong force is interfering with the divination. Dunn gives Klein a topaz necklace, explaining it will make divining easier. They also learn a Grade 2 sealed artifact. Code 49 from the Holy Cathedral has left Tingan City to help them find Rebier. Grade 2 signifies a moderately dangerous item. 3 new Beyonders are introduced. Ire Horison, Sequence 7 Nightwear. Borgia, Sequence 8 Gravedigger, both from the Backland Organization, and Del Simone, Sequence 7 Spirit Medium. We've seen before, IR is reluctant to bring Klein, a Sequence 9 Seer with no combat ability, on the mission, fearing he'll be a burden. Dunn dismisses his concerns. They are briefed on 49, a highly dangerous artifact. In the operation room, everyone performs a ritual, shaking their right hand. Klein, fearing death, joins in. The container for 49 opens, revealing a clown puppet. Klein finds it cute, but it suddenly stops moving. Leonard taps it, and it's explained that 49 can turn anyone within 5 meters into a wooden puppet if they're still. Moving continuously prevents this, and a tap can restore them. The wooden puppet then circles everyone, especially Klein. As he's most connected to the diary, Rebier's coat is dropped, and 49 finally points them in a direction. A small child's eyes are covered, while the others perform another cringy ritual as Klein perceives it, swaying their hands. They travel by carriage, arriving at a house where someone is chanting spells, mentioning the Antigonus family, and literally eating the diary. This is Rebier, a descendant of the Antigonus family, explaining his strong link to the diary. The clown from episode 1 appears, arriving moments too late to grab the diary. Realizing the Nighthawks are present, he believes he can turn the tide. The Nighthawks exit the carriage, 49 in hand. Klein uses his topaz necklace to divine that entering the house will be extremely dangerous. Before they can enter, the door swings open, and a crimson, ominous aura pours out, scaring their horses. Everyone draws their weapons. A grotesque monster bursts through the walls and charges at 49. Dunn quickly gives Klein 2 slumber charms. The others begin chanting the midnight poem to restrain the massive grotesque creature, but its power overwhelms them. Dunn realizes it's not a Beyonder who lost control, but a dying spirit. Its power is amplified because the notebook has taken control of it. Dunn uses his power to bind the creature for 3 seconds, giving Simone time to act. Just as he's about to succeed, the notebook emits immense power, shooting out many veins, one striking Dunn AR and Borgia Protect 49, with Borgia using Sandman to defend himself, but the attacks are relentless. Dunn, despite a vein piercing his heart, continues his chant. Klein observes the creature's painful screams, but finds them nothing compared to the gray fog. He uses both his charms, putting the creature to slumber. Simone then dismembers it with a massive blast, killing it. Dunn attends to the fallen. Simone, giving her a potion to recover. Klein approaches the diary. He hears Hornus's phlegria, his recurring auditory hallucination. Suddenly, the clown attacks him, but it's an illusion. All the Nighthawks seemingly attack him, but he continuously dodges their blows. Klein realizes it's the same clown from the circus. Everyone assumes the clown is a Sequence 7 Beyonder or higher due to his abilities. Borgia and IH focus on preventing him from reaching 49. Leonard also fights, but the clown is too strong and fast. Klein fires a shot that hits the clown's shoulder and another that hits its stomach. The clown uses damage transfer to move the wound to its left hand. He then uses powerful bindings, almost ensnaring Klein. Clown uses paper substitution to escape. The clown is a master of attack and escape. He snaps his fingers, releasing 49. As 49 is unsealed, everyone within its 5-meter radius falls under its control. While the clown watches from a distance, Klein realizes the clown's control is only over the body, not the mind. He praises the celestial worthy and enters his gray fog domain. He understands that staying in the illusion would have been dangerous, so he fled to the gray fog. He sits on his chair to divine, using his topaz necklace. He divines that returning to the real world is safe. He reappears in the real world and finds he can move. A hat rolls towards him, and a rabbit emerges, speaking to him. The rabbit, claiming to be a seer, offers to help Klein in exchange for the diary. The clown who conjured the rabbit illusion mistakes Klein for a Sequence 8 seer because the gray fog has disrupted his divining abilities. The clown offers answers about Sequence 8 if Klein helps him. Klein is confused, wondering if this is real and what seer can conjure such lifelike illusions. Leonard is also present, feigning immobility to test Klein. The clown says something about Sequence 8 that blurs out and then draws a sword. Advancing, since Klein can move, he pulls the clown and fires at him. As the clown enters the 5-meter radius, he also falls under the puppet magic's control. Klein shoots him twice, ending the illusion. The clown collapses, muttering Hornuses, accepting his fate. Klein closes 49's box, takes the diary, and frees everyone. Leonard approaches Klein, complimenting his good work and saying the world has many special people like them. He leaves, and Klein thinks Leonard is a narcissist. Item 49 is completely sealed. Dunn tells Klein that while he might be curious about the notebook, he shouldn't think about it until it returns from the Holy Cathedral. He praises Klein for foiling the Secret Order's plot, implying Klein will become a permanent knight. Hawk member, he's currently an intern. Klein and Dunn discuss the notebook's ability to make people lose control. Klein sees the clown's dead body and feels a pang of sadness, but Dunn says killing him saved many lives. Klein reveals what the clown told him about the seer's Sequence 8 pathway, that the Sequence 8 potion is called Clown. Outside, Borgia and Ayer discuss how strong Klein is for a Sequence 9 seer. They ask how he saved them and defeated the Sequence 7 Beyonder. Klein lies, crediting Lady's blessing and saying the clown forgot Klein wasn't under 49's control. They seem satisfied. Leonard is amused by Klein's claim of a one-shot kill, knowing it took more. Klein is embarrassed, aware his shooting skills aren't great. He then realizes the potion inside him is slowly being absorbed. Klein visits his old Professor Ozek, hoping for information. He asks Ozek about Hornuses and the nation of Evernight and Hornus's mountain range, which he saw in the diary. Ozek finds the words familiar, but knows nothing. As Klein leaves, he asks Ozek to inform him if he finds anything. Ozek thanks Klein for a gift unspecified. Klein tells him he works for a security company dealing with antiques. Ozek warns him to be cautious, as going too far into these matters can lead to losing control, darkness, and misfortune. He advises great caution. Klein leaves. Ezek then ponders the Antigonus family diary and the nation of Evernight. He performs something, and a skeleton with red eyes emerges from the shadows on the ground. Then we see a dimly lit chamber where a man, battered and broken, pleads for forgiveness from his terrifying Lord Oracle. And now the notebook is in the hands of the Nighthawks. The Oracle, in a horrifying display of power, forces the man's own hands into his mouth, breaking his fingers and teeth. They discover that the notebook is specifically with Klein Moretti, and the man is given a final, desperate chance to retrieve it, setting him on Klein's trail. Meanwhile, Klein meets with Old Neil, who begins teaching him about low-sequence Beyonder rituals. Neil explains the need for specific ingredients and demonstrates. Moments later, a carriage arrives, and the driver identifies the wallet by an emblem matching his vehicle. Klein wonders if Neil will accept this divine gift or return it. True to his character, Neil honestly returns the wallet, and in gratitude, the man gives him 30 pounds as a reward. This proves the ritual's effectiveness, and Neil reassures Klein that such acts are safe as long as they don't harm others. Klein recalls a passage from Emperor Rosel's diary, which he, unlike others, can decipher. It states that for a Beyonder to properly absorb their potion's powers, digestion and acting are crucial. As a seer, Klein realizes he must embody his pathway and act like one. He spots a divination club and, upon invitation, decides it's the perfect place to begin. Inside, he gets a tarot reading, which vaguely suggests his desired path isn't immediately accessible but might be with patience. Paying the fee, he uses his aura sight on the coughing reader, diagnosing lung problems and advising a doctor, thus subtly revealing his seer abilities. He decides to join the club, observed by a young girl. The club's teacher, Mr. Vincent, had already predicted a powerful seer's arrival. In his mirror divination class, students gaze into mirrors to connect with spirits. Klein uses his aura sight, noting Vincent's seemingly healthy aura, but sensing an underlying anomaly. He observes Vincent giving a box to a red-haired girl. As she leaves, Klein feels an odd sensation, but dismisses it as a mere coincidence. Later, Klein considers his path: either digest the potion through constant acting to advance, hoping it brings him home, or somehow master the gray mist's power for a direct return. He recognizes that relying solely on potion advancement would take too long. He speculates that modifying the luck enhancement ritual might help. A knock at the door makes him burn his notes. It's his sister, Melissa, playing with a toy. Family being beneficial, Klein accepts. Klein enters the gray fog, where Hanged Man and Justice await. Their animations are truly impressive. Klein uses his aura sight, noting Hanged Man's terrifying ocean-like aura and Justice's calm, lake-like one. Klein notices the unique constellation-like symbols behind each of them, understanding their meaning and even seeing his own. He grants them permission to speak. Justice presents 3 questions. First, what should a spectator know? Hanged Man explains that a spectator must remain detached, maintain a normal attitude. Klein interjects, emphasizing that mastery isn't enough. Digestion and acting are the true path. Both Hanged Man and Justice are stunned by this revelation, acknowledging its immense value. Justice's second question: what happens if an animal drinks a Beyonder potion? A flashback shows her dog accidentally drinking a potion she was preparing. They explain that such an animal typically either dies, transforms into a dangerous monster, or becomes a special creature. Her final question concerns talent, which Klein states is simple to acquire. Klein can read Rosel's difficult language. Klein then dictates the prayer lines: "You are the mysterious ruler above the gray mist." Hanged Man realizes that if this prayer works, Klein will gain significant power. Back in the real world, Klein returns home, where his brother Benson is present. Klein considers revealing his seer identity to Melissa and Benson when the time is right. They spend their days well, preparing for Selena's party. On Sunday, July 15th, they arrive at Selena's house. It's revealed that Selena is indeed the red-haired girl to whom Vincent gave the mysterious box. Selena's friend, Elizabeth, is also there. The 3 girls gather, exchanging compliments. Klein feels a surge of power, realizing Hanged Man has begun his prayer, boosting his well-being. The party is vibrant with food and merriment. Elizabeth approaches Klein, revealing she knows he's a seer, but promises to keep it from Melissa. Melissa then playfully suggests Klein and Benson might be looking for wives, but warns that Elizabeth is only 16. Klein dismisses the idea as night falls. The 3 girls gather in Selena's room. They open the box to reveal a mirror. Activating it, they attempt mirror divination, playfully seeking answers about their future partners. Klein's impending doom. Klein senses a profound danger. He rushes to the girls' room, finding the mirror completely black, a terrifying sight. He realizes he must save them. Luckily, the room contains the necessary ingredients. He sees that Selena is no longer herself. She's possessed and transforming into a monstrous, ghostly figure. She attacks Elizabeth and Melissa, rendering them unconscious. Klein steps in, using his nocturnal magic and nocturnal slumber cards to trap Selena. He begins his enchantment, frantically trying to complete the ritual. Simultaneously, Vincent uses his own blood to empower Selena, breaking her free from Klein's trap. The blood extinguishes candles, and the ink forms the crucial words of his spell. Selena's possessed hair lashes out, attacking Klein. Despite Klein's efforts, she avoids his attacks and overwhelms him. Selena taunts Klein, claiming his survival from her master's gift of death and his acquisition of Beyonder powers were anomalies. She demands to know what he's discovered about the Antigonus family notebook, threatening the girls' lives if he doesn't comply. Klein begins to lose consciousness, but then feels a powerful surge. Justice has also begun her prayer for him, infusing him with strength and freeing him from Selena's hold. This crucial moment gives Klein just enough time to complete the ritual. He finally appeals to the goddess, asking for the spirit possessing Selena to be banished and the connection severed. The ritual completes successfully. Selena, Elizabeth, and Melissa all fall unconscious, and Vincent is defeated. Klein realizes his extraordinary luck that Justice's timely prayer saved him from certain destruction. As Vincent stumbles out, bewildered by his failure, Mr. G, a member of the Aurora Order, appears. He delivers a gift from his master. Death End kills Vincent. Klein later explains everything to Dunn Smith, bringing him to the scene and suggesting Vincent's deeper involvement. Dunn then experiences a disturbing vision of a grotesque creature, leaving him shocked. In the end credits, we're transported to the Loan Kingdom. Justice is shown sleeping peacefully as her dog, Susie, approaches, attempting to wake her. Susie, surprisingly, begins to speak, complaining about being just a dog, a result of drinking the potion earlier. A servant then arrives, informing Justice that she needs to prepare for a royal celebration. Justice wakes up. Numerous servants present a selection of dresses and jewels she chose the previous night. It's revealed that Justice is a princess of the royal kingdom, and it's her 17th birthday, confirming her lavish royal existence. Then we are shown a concert where an old woman is singing. We're then introduced to a very famous person named Trissus. We see Klein and Dunn Smith are also there. He and Klein discuss how Trissus, despite being such a big singer, deals in illegal goods. Dunn notes that it's just the two of them on this mission, because Miss Daly hasn't recovered from that big creature fight yet, and Dunn himself isn't in top shape either, so they have to handle everything. Klein then mentions that Vincent isn't dead yet, he's still alive. The concert ends, and the scene cuts. We see a ship approaching the city. Klein is shown sitting in a chair, researching a photo of a man trying to figure out what happened to him. He has a night watch match. Dunn tells him to go meet the man and report back. We see Trissus there, giving autographs before leaving. Klein is also there, meeting the man named Meyer. A girl introduces Klein to Mr. Meyer, saying he's a seer, referring to his Beyonder pathway. They meet, and Meyer tells Klein that he has terrible nightmares every night and can't sleep. Klein says he needs to see his dream first. He spins his locket and enters Meyer's dream. In the dream, Klein sees a ship on fire in the middle of the sea. A man throws a child overboard and then jumps in himself. Meyer reaches out and grabs the man's hand. This is his recurring dream. As Klein is experiencing this, he feels an aura behind him. He turns around and finds himself in a different place with a very old throne. Klein realizes some strange ritual is being performed there. Suddenly, Klein's dream breaks, and he wakes up, sweating. He wonders, how can this be? I've seen this many times. He exits Meyer's presence and reports to Dunn, explaining everything. He reveals that the hero, Trissus, is behind all this. Dunn says they need to investigate further because Trissus is a huge celebrity, and they can't just take action against him without strong evidence. The scene cuts to Trissus' house where he's sleeping with two girls. He senses someone has entered his house. He pulls out a knife and sees a girl standing in front of him. They talk, and the girl tells Trissus that he's done good work, so she wants to give him a gift. She gives him a Sequence 7 potion, which belongs to a witch. The scene cuts again. We now see Klein heading to an underground market with Mr. Neal. They take a lift down to a huge subterranean market. It's vast, with many stalls. As they walk, Klein suddenly feels an aura. He sees a madman approaching them, yelling, "Everyone will die! Everyone will die! Death!" Blood starts flowing from the man's eyes, and he collapses. Neil explains that this is common for him. It's his daily routine. His nickname is Monster. They visit a shop in the market, looking at some items and a stone. They have a brief conversation. In this market, many want to join their vendor group. Neil explains that they are not vendors, but work for them, effectively owning the land there. Then, Klein spots Trissus. They start following him, and Klein notices they're not the only ones. Someone else is following too. Trissus starts running. 3 or 4 more people appear and begin shooting at Trissus. Trissus gets shot once, but then disappears and flees. Klein and Neil go outside and see that Dunn Smith has taken down 3 of the attackers. Dunn says Trissus escaped and he couldn't catch him. He tells them to come with him. They have somewhere to go. They get into a car, and Dunn tells Klein to use the hat he got from Trissus to find out where he went. Klein uses his power and discovers Trissus' location. They head there and find many girls tied up with fires burning around them. Then, one girl falls onto Klein, and his hat also falls off. Klein asks the girl if she needs help, but she declines, saying she'll go to the doctor by herself. Klein checks their auras. Everything seems normal. He looks up, and Dunn shakes his head, indicating Trissus isn't there. Klein then returns home. He writes in his diary about past events, like the 6 pounds Dunn gave gave him, the full moon hanging overhead, and details about other members, including Leonard and the locket he gave his sister. As he writes, someone knocks on his door. He opens it, and it's Leonard. They go somewhere together. We see them in a very old village. Dunn, Leonard, Isak, and Klein are all talking. They're discussing a workshop in this city where people died in various ways, some by poison, some by strangulation, some by fire. Their goal is to find out how these deaths occurred. They go to a house. Leonard and Klein enter. Klein uses his power and sees an old woman leaving, but a very young girl comes from behind and places her hand on her back. Klein tells this to everyone. They discuss that this is a girl who practices black magic, using dolls as puppets. Leonard says he has a theory, and he explains it to Klein. The theory is that this girl uses magic to summon evil gods, demons, and other evil creatures. She's a very powerful magician and has a witch. They tell Klein to quickly use his power and find her location. Klein uses his power, gets the house's address, draws it, and they immediately set off. They reach the house and realize it's a witch's house, so there will be many entities inside. They proceed, but as they move forward, the witch senses someone's presence. The witch takes out a potion, drinks it, and becomes invisible. She goes upstairs and sees Leonard and Dunn trying to enter. We see there are many other entities there. The invisible witch then stabs Dunn from behind, but it's not the real Dunn. It's a clone, which explodes. The witch realizes this. A bullet comes, but the witch stops it with her knife. Then Leonard arrives and begins to fight her. Dominating her, he kicks her, sending her flying. Leonard uses his power and is about to catch the girl, but she cuts her hand with the knife. We then see a statue of a girl's eyes open, and the witch gains more power. The girl turns invisible again and goes back upstairs. We see Klein and Dunn Smith approaching from behind the house. Dunn Smith tells Klein to stay put and not come near the house. Dunn goes inside. Leonard shoots at the girl, showering her with bullets. The girl gets hit once and shatters into glass fragments. These glass fragments then start attacking. Dunn arrives, creates a flow, and stops them. He enters the house. Dunn sees that the doll is gone. What happened was, the girl, the witch, entered the house. She prayed to a demon's statue performed. A ritual, gained more power and took the statue, then left through the other side. Dunn is then attacked by a burning window curtain that wraps around his face. Dunn uses his electro power to tear it off. More fragments attack, and he gets shot. Blood appears. Dunn says, "It's bleeding here." He then sees Dunn's statue standing in front of him. From a distance, it releases an aura, and long hair attacks Dunn. But Dunn releases his own aura, using his full potential, and nothing happens. Everyone outside is watching this. Dunn's condition deteriorates. He coughs. We see the girl trying to escape. Klein tries to stop her by shooting, but a glowing rose appears and enters Leonard. Leonard pulls it out and throws it, but he sees it following the girl. Leonard chases after the girl. As he runs, Leonard glances to his right and sees a massive shadow. He looks at his hand and realizes black magic is at work. The girl says, "Now this guy's done for." She begins a black magic ritual using Leonard's blood, but Leonard pulls out his hair, ties it to his nail, and then uses his blood to throw it away. Whatever ritual the girl performed, it was undone by the hair and nail. The girl thinks he's dead. She then jumps into the water from the base. Meanwhile, Klein uses his power to repair the broken glass in the house. He then sees a photo of the girl who had fallen unconscious onto him earlier. He goes outside and tells Dunn. The scene cuts, but we see a girl arriving on a train. She's the same girl. Everyone bows down to her feet. She lights a cigarette, and everyone rushes to offer her a lighter. The scene cuts again, and we're told her name is Trizis. Then we are shown a person drawing symbols using his own blood. As he completes the drawing, he transforms into something mysterious. In the next scene, we see Klein approaching an ancient castle. It is revealed that during a previous dream interpretation session with Elizabeth, Klein saw an image of this abandoned castle and a light wraith within it. Back in the present, Smith presents a mutated sun sacred emblem, which he claims can turn Beyonders within its range into idiots. They begin their investigation inside the castle. Suddenly, a strange sensation washes over them, prompting Klein to use his abilities to examine the surroundings. He detects a black fog. Smith uses magic to disperse it, but more fog appears, and a sword begins attacking them. A fog-like humanoid figure wielding the sword engages them. Klein tries to bind it with magic, but the figure breaks free and transforms into a swarm of bats. Smith battles the entity, but it overpowers him and knocks the emblem aside. A companion attempts to shoot the enemy, but the sword slices the bullet midair. The attacker turns on Klein, who oddly feels no pain. Amid the chaos, Smith reactivates the emblem, which emits a wave that shatters the surroundings. They finally manage to seal the wraith using a magical claw. cloth. Only then does Klein notice an ancient portrait which was over 1,000 years old, possibly depicting Baron Lemud, the castle's original owner, who disappeared in legend. Klein believes the man in the portrait resembles Mr. Ozick. Smith suspects the castle hasn't been fully purified and decides to remain on watch, with Klein taking the first shift while on guard. Klein examines the emblem but can't determine its origin. He takes it into the gray fog and attempts divination. There he sees the eternal blazing sun and a figure worshipping it while holding the emblem. The emblem absorbs a drop of golden liquid and the worshipper vanishes. Klein returns to the moment when the drop appeared and touches it, causing the entire realm, even the gray fog itself, to burst into flames. He feels like he's burning alive, but a mysterious force suddenly saves him and heals his wounds. He senses himself being transported to another realm and then sees a phrase, Sequence 4, Unshadowed. He thinks this might be a reward for enduring divine wrath and that the golden drop could be divine blood. Klein returns to the real world. Later, Smith confirms that the wraith has been purified and will return the emblem. Klein receives a letter. Mr. Ozick has discovered information about Hornacek. Klein visits him, still wondering about the resemblance between Ozick and the man in the painting. He enters the room and finds the room was empty, but he discovers a sketch, the same one we saw at the episode's start. The sketch was of Lemud Castle. Ozick suddenly appears and explains he drew it subconsciously after a strange dream. In another room, Ozick hands Klein a book on Hornice's research. When Klein was about to leave, Ozick insists Klein to stay and read it. As Klein flips through the pages, he sees an image of the same palace from his dream divination and references to the nation of Evernight and the Antigonus family's notes. Ozick serves tea and mentions he and Klein's are on the same page. Ozick says that no tombstone or a grave was ever found, and the people disappeared without a trace. They worshipped the ruler of Evernight and the mother of the sky. As Klein adds 2 sugar cubes to his tea, Ozick points out he usually uses only 1. Klein explains that his tastes have changed recently. Ozick then warns that a sensed ripple may bring danger to Klein, and that Klein's fate seems tied to Ozick himself. Ozick suspects Klein knows some of his secrets. They travel to the castle, where Klein divines that Ozick could protect him. Ozick begins to recount his past, remembering how his son used to drag around a heavy sword, pretending to be the king's knight. Klein realizes the wraith they fought earlier was likely Ozick's child. Ozick swings the sword, casting a powerful spell that repairs the dilapidated castle. Klein sees a vision of a child laughing while holding a sword. Suddenly, the dream fades, and a secret underground passage appears. They descend into the hidden chamber, where Klein uses his vision to scan the area. At the bottom, they find a tomb. Ozick opens it, releasing a surge of magical energy. A soul-like entity emerges and merges with a Zik. Next, we see a battlefield littered with corpses. Soldiers arrive and begin burning the bodies. Klein, observing from a distance, sees one corpse awaken its Ozick. An old woman narrates a prophecy. A cursed spirit will return, bringing disaster and death. Soldiers attack Ozick, but he dodges effortlessly and slays them with ease. Reinforcements arrive, but he overwhelms them. Ozick summons a giant skeleton and leads a charge. Later, he returns to a palace, where he's honored with the title of Grand Baron of Lemud and awarded the first-class Medal of Augusto. We then see his family. His son aspires to be a great knight like his father. Klein continues to observe. One day, Ozick's wife falls ill. Klein suspects the man in the scene may not be the real Ozick. Ozick stands on the balcony, witnessing a horde of soul-like beings kneeling before him. Suddenly, a powerful aura erupts from him, pushing back his son and breaking his sword. The dream shifts again. Ozick's wife and son are asleep. He steps outside into the snow, removes his armor, and walks away from the palace. His son wakes up and calls after him, but Ozick continues without looking back. Back in the present, it's revealed that Ozick's full name is Ozick Eggers. He follows the corpse collector pathway, but his sequence remains unknown. The corpse Klein found earlier was actually Ozick's child. Klein realizes the skull is missing, indicating the sealing ritual was sabotaged, which is why the wraith appeared. Ozick uses his blood and sword to cast a vengeful spell, swearing to find the thief who took the skull. The spell unexpectedly attacks Klein. Ozick pulls Klein into a strange realm filled with skulls. He casts another spell, but it fails, indicating tracking the thief is impossible. Back in reality, Ozick promises he'll find the culprit no matter what. Later, they are standing beneath a tree. Klein asks if Ozick remembers his past. Ozick replies he only recalls fragments. Every few decades, he falls into a deep slumber, forgetting everything except his name and basic knowledge. Each time, he dreams of a new family, but they always meet tragic ends because of him. Choosing solitude, Ozick lost track of how many lifetimes he's lived. Ozick thanks Klein for helping him recover some memories. On his way home, Klein reflects. He admits to himself that he's not the real Klein and will eventually leave. But while he remains, he wants to spend as much time as possible with Benson and Melissa. As Klein Then we see Isaac and Klein. Isaac tells Klein he can ask anything. Klein asks about his fate. Isaac then inquires if any coincidences have been happening frequently. Klein recalls the Antigonus family's notebook. Then the scene shifts to a mysterious fat man entering a room. We don't exactly know who he is. Then, on August 20th, 1349, Klein and Neil arrive at the office where everyone is celebrating. Kenley gives them cake and reveals he just got engaged. Neil congratulates him. Sika begins noting things down, and when Neil asks if she's working on another novel, she confirms. Leonard arrives, laid back and attempting some poetry. Smith enters, assigns tasks to everyone, but forgets about Klein. After realizing, he assigns Klein to guard Chanis Gate, warning him never to open it unless it opens on its own, even if he hears voices. Smith also reminds Klein that after 2 months on the job, he needs to submit a report of at least 10,000 words. Klein collects case files and glances down a hallway toward Chanis's gate. It creaks open slightly. Nervously, Klein walks down the hall. The gate begins to open wider, and Klein points his gun. Inside is the misfortune cloth puppet. An emergency bell rings, and Leonard comes to check. Klein explains that he saw a puppet inside, and it tried to hand him a note, but he closed the door. Leonard backs away, explaining that previous Nighthawks, who encountered similar situations, disappeared without a trace. He begins casting a spell when something mysterious appears behind him. It was none other than Neil, suffering from stomach issues, and he immediately rushed to the restroom. Leonard explains that the puppet has been inactive for decades, suggesting that a recently added artifact might be causing the disturbance. And the artifact that have been added recently was the Antigonus family's notebook. Klein returns to the gray fog and reviews Roselle's papers. He thanks his companions. Miss Justice asks when she might fully digest the spectator potion. Klein replies that digestion usually takes between 1 to 6 months. The Hanged Man brings up a rumor about a Sequence 8 listener of the Aurora Order searching for the true creator's holy residence. Justice asks who the true creator is. The Hanged Man explains that some organizations believe the creator never died and that his essence became the true creator. Roselle even modeled the Hanged Man tarot card after him. Klein remarks he prefers to call him the fallen creator. The Hanged Man offers to repay Klein. Klein asks for more pages of Roselle's diary or information about the Antigonus family. The Hanged Man shares that the family's roots trace back to the Third Epoch. They supported the Blood Emperor and helped found the Tudor Empire. By the Fourth Epoch, the Evernight goddess destroyed them. Klein is shocked. He then reflects on what Ozic told him and starts reviewing past cases, especially those connected to the Antigonus notebook. He suspects that someone is interfering with the physical world and re-examines Elliot's kidnapping case. Now he is sure they planned Elliot's kidnapping specifically to lead him to the clues on the notebook. Unable to get more through divination, Klein considers advancing. Though his potion isn't fully digested, he's been practicing acting and performing divinations. He realizes digestion requires more than just method acting. He seeks clues about the clown potion. He sees Bieber's corpse with a glowing brain and another clown corpse with a red orb of blood. Then he sees Vincent holding the notebook. Klein wonders if he should use it to lure the secret order to get the clown potion. He also sees the mysterious fat man but doesn't recognize him. At the divination club, a woman named Christina is searching for someone named Levanus. Just then, Klein arrives and the woman tells him to track the man. Klein explains that he needs some of Lavanus's items to track him. Christina brings a pregnant woman, claiming Levanus is the father. Klein explains the baby must be born first. Christina then asks for the nearest clinic and tries to take the women. Klein tries to use his divination to see, but the woman pushes him and leaves. Klein shows Angelica the fat man's picture and asks if she knows him. She recalls seeing him with Vincent outside the divination club a month ago. They had discussed about some mountain ruins. The scene shifts to a library and we see the same fat man arriving there. Inside the library, Klein checks records and sees the name Levanus. He also spots another name, Sirius Arapis, who vanished around July 14th, and the date of Vincent's death was July 15. Klein then goes to the archaeology section and takes a book out and sees the fat man. Klein was confused about what to do, but the man suddenly ran. Klein gives chase, but the man jumps out the window, leaving a trail of blood. Following the trail, Klein is attacked by a monstrous version of the fat man. He shoots him dead. Man is revealed to be from the secret's supplicant pathway, Sequence 9. Klein performs a divination to obtain the clown potion recipe. As he is about to succeed, he glimpses the true creator and is thrown back to reality. Smith arrives and scolds Klein for rashly talking to spirits. Leonard comments that Klein has seen more Beyonder incidents in a short time than anyone else. Leonard finds an envelope on the body addressed to Mr. Z. Klein doesn't understand. Smith explains that Aurora Order oracles use letters to identify them. The letter states that Vincent and the Fat Man found only potion recipes like the clown's in the Antigonus notebook. Klein says he was close to discovering the clown potion recipe himself, but got interrupted. Smith says the recipe must be authenticated by the Holy Cathedral. The letter also claims that the Antigonus family's treasure of resurgence might be hidden in the main peak of the Hornices mountain range within the Evernight ruins. It ends with a plea for help with Doomsday and is signed by Sirius Erebus. Klein realizes the Fat Man was serious. Klein returns to the gray fog and reflects on Leonard's words. He considers how many Beyonders he has encountered and concludes that someone might be orchestrating everything. He recalls the biggest coincidence in his life, Klein shooting himself. Klein uses divination to uncover the reason behind his suicide, but sees almost nothing. Suddenly, his potion is fully digested. He realizes the key was not relying solely on divination. Now able to move more freely, he sees a factory with 2 red chimneys. Before being pulled back into the gray fog, Klein suspects that the person behind everything could be at that factory. Then Klein goes fishing with Ozick at Hornices University. Klein is frustrated, wondering about the red chimneys and the mastermind he can't detect, even with the gray mist. He feels he needs the clown potion and some hidden cards to reach the mastermind, as he only has his pistol and a few magical charms as weapons. He thinks he might get more information from the mutated sunset emblem. Ozick notices Klein's stress and advises him to relax. He says things sometimes fall into place when you least expect them. Klein asks Ozick for a favor, and a few days later, he meets Justice and the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man has brought another page from Emperor Roselle's diary, which mentions the unnamed island, but provides no further clues. Justice reveals that she met with a secret Beyonder group and can get more diary pages. But first, she wants information on other secret organizations. Klein and the Hanged Man are the only ones with some knowledge. The Hanged Man, however, demands £1,000 for the information, citing the danger involved in getting it. Klein is shocked, but Justice agrees, which surprises both him and the Hanged Man. Klein considers asking for money, but remembers he is the fool and can't take money from his associates. The Hanged Man then agrees to share the information, reveals that over 100 secret organizations exist. The Secret Order, the Demonist Sect, and the Moses Aesthetic Order are ancient. Dating back to the 4th Epoch, the Moses Aesthetic Order, whose members follow the mystery prior pathway sequence 9 and worship knowledge, is the oldest. Once respected, it's now considered evil because knowledge itself came to life and became an evil god. New organizations like Roselle's School of Thought and the Death-worshipping Numinous Episcopate have also emerged, along with the Aurora Order, Element Dawn, and Psychology Alchemists. Justice thanks the Hanged Man, and the meeting concludes. Klein returns but still has no report from Ozick. He then hears news of a paranormal attack on the docks, targeting Evernight Goddess followers. He rushes to read the newspaper, and his sister Melissa sees his gun. He tells her he's working for the police and reads that the attacks are linked to Ozick at the Nighthawks Security Company. Neil and Fallen are drinking, and Klein joins them. They discuss the dock attacks, and Klein learns that the spirits involved are ancient from the 4th Epoch, confirming his suspicion that Ozick is connected. Fallen, an associate of Neil's, suggests Klein join the mandated Punishers, but Neil refuses. They then go to the captain, who assigns Neil, Leonard, and Canley to investigate. Klein offers to go in Neil's place, and Neil readily agrees. However, when the captain says those over 50 years old will get double pay, Neil changes his mind and decides to go. They discuss how difficult the spirits are to handle and that they'll need the sealed artifact, the sun's sacred envenom. Bring it to the crowded docks. However, because anyone in its range for an hour would become a sun-worshipping fool, Klein convinces the captain to let him use the artifact, and they all head to the docks. Leonard suspects Klein is there to uncover his secrets, but Klein is focused on the mission. At the incident site, everyone questions if they are real exorcists. Leonard shows them his ritual items to prove they are professionals. Many spirits attack, but instead of harming people, they just make them perform strange acts. The spirits recognize Klein and don't harm him at all. The sun's sacred envenom begins to work, and Klein gestures for the spirits to leave. Leonard tells Klein to perform an exorcism, but Klein is not prepared. He and Neil instead perform a ridiculous dance to make it look like they are exorcising the spirits, and everyone falls for it. Suddenly, a carriage almost hits a girl, but Fallen saves her. Klein realizes the girl is the fiancée of Lenovis. The man Fallen was tracking to expose his fraud. Klein asks Neil about their friendship. Neil explains they used to work and drink together, and his wife Celesta would play the piano for them before she died years ago. Now, only he and Fallen are left as they continue to investigate. Leonard asks Klein Klein to perform a divination, since the victims seem unharmed. Klein sees no clear results, but he does see an inverted pyramid. He remembers that the pyramid is a symbol used by those who believe they are descendants of death, an evil being who allied with ancient demons. Klein wonders if Mr. Ozek, who came back to life from the dead, is also a descendant of death. This makes him realize that the mastermind who stole Ozek's son's skull is likely even more dangerous. Leonard and Canley leave the sun's sacred venom with Klein, giving him time to perform a ritual. Klein chants, hoping to complete his flaring sun charm. As he performs the ritual, the weather outside changes. A monster attacks a small boat, eating a man, shocking Leonard. The monster then attacks Klein's ship. Klein fires at it, but the bullets stop in midair. He realizes the monster was once a Beyonder who lost control of their powers. Leonard arrives and starts fighting the monster, revealing it is a Sequence 8 Beyonder. They must eliminate it. Klein gives the sun's sacred envenom to Canley and tells him to leave. Neil orders everyone to evacuate as the ship explodes. Neil saves people from the falling debris. Leonard struggles to fight the monster. Klein, swinging from a rope, accidentally kicks the monster, causing it to fall. Neil catches it, and Leonard uses his power to trap it. Neil finds a bottle of alcohol belonging to Fallen, and they realize the monster is none other than Fallen. It's impossible to save him. Leonard prepares to kill him, but Neil decides to do it himself, saying a final goodbye to his friend. Back home, Neil plays the piano sadly, and Klein finds a photo of Neil, Fallen, and their friends. He can't understand how such a good Beyonder could suddenly turn into a monster. Klein returns home, disturbed. He never noticed anything abnormal about Fallen. He wonders if any Beyonder could transform into a monster and die. This is a terrifying thought. He has only 2 flaring sun charms, which can help him find the notebook and the mastermind. But they can't stop a Beyonder from turning into a monster. He remembers the captain saying many Nighthawks died after turning into monsters. He tells himself, this can't be the end, and there must be a solution, perhaps through strong self-control and power. He concludes it is time to reveal active methods to his teammates and advance to the clown sequence himself. After witnessing a Fallen turn into a monster, Klein decided to reveal the acting method to his companions, hoping to prevent them from suffering the same fate. But one question lingered in his mind: did the Evernight goddess truly not know about the method, or was she deliberately keeping it hidden for some reason? While Klein was writing notes to explain the acting method clearly to his teammates, he suddenly sensed something strange. Instinctively, he drew his revolver, and soon a spirit slipped into his room. He pointed his gun at it, but then a familiar voice said, "Don't shoot, Klein, it's me, Daly. I know this isn't the best time to visit, but I just received a letter from Smith. This matter has become urgent, so I came to speak with you in secret. But shouldn't you seal your room with spirituality? After all, if your siblings hear a woman's voice inside, they may find it strange. Of course, I don't mind." Realizing it was truly Daly, Klein sealed the room with spirituality. Daly explained that Smith had told her about Klein's application to advance to Sequence 8, and though Smith worried about him, she already knew Klein had discovered the acting method. Klein tried to deny it, but Daly pressed further. No one digests a potion in just 2 months without either the acting method or contact with some evil entity. The latter could bring you punishment. Klein calmly replied, "Everything I know is granted by the Evernight goddess." Daly was surprised. "It took me 2 years to digest my potion. For you to do it in 2 months, it feels unfair." Klein asked if the headquarters knew about the method. Daly explained that although the Evernight Church belonged to the Orthodox faction, none of the low-ranking Night Watchers were informed about the method. Headquarters had forbidden them from spreading it, binding them with oaths. Even Daly couldn't tell Smith. Despite their closeness, she urged Klein to share the method quickly with his team, as a church investigator was already on the way. "The church is prioritizing you because you discovered this in just 2 months. They'll want you sworn in immediately. Time is short." Klein reassured her. "Don't worry, Miss Daly. Tomorrow, I'll tell Captain and the others." The next day, Klein gathered his team and revealed the truth to advance. One must know the next potion's name and act according to their pathway, allowing digestion to proceed faster. Neil felt deep regret if he had known 20 years ago. He might have saved his wife and comrades. Soon, the investigator arrived. Roseanne announced his presence, shocking Smith. It was Sostmar, a Sequence 5 Sleepless, one of the Red Glove elites. Even more shocking, he personally came to assess Klein. A Sequence 8 candidates, something unheard of. Sostmar led Klein into an interrogation chamber and restrained him, using his immense power to probe Klein's spirit and check for ties ties to any evil god. Though Klein endured terrible suffering, he passed the test. Sostmar declared, "Your teammate has mastered his potion well. He is permitted to advance." But there was a condition. Sostmar brought out the holy artifact of the goddess sword, demanding everyone swear never to reveal the acting method to outsiders under threat of divine punishment. One by one, they placed their hands on it and swore. Later, Klein brewed his clown potion, carefully adding each ingredient. Once consumed, he heard strange words, Hornus and Phlegeria, yet his spirituality and body cells accepted the potion smoothly. Klein successfully advanced to sequence 8. Clown daily warned him, "Sometimes you may hear bizarre whispers or see illusions. They come from high sequence beyonders on your pathway. But if your path is tied to an evil deity, you may stray and turn into a monster." After leaving, Klein felt lighter, his body brimming with agility. When Roseanne stumbled, he flashed forward, catching her and her falling books. Shocked, Roseanne realized Klein now had precognition abilities. Testing further, Klein attempted to mimic the clown who had once attacked him but failed and embarrassed himself. However, when he hurled a paper, it sliced into a wall like a blade. Realizing his new powers, Klein resolved to carry playing cards as weapons. Canley grew excited. "If Klein reached sequence 8 in just 2 months, then if I train for a year, I can do it too." Meanwhile, Neil's health deteriorated. Klein examined him but found nothing wrong, till he glimpsed a shadow he couldn't explain. Neil confided that he too had once sought the mystery prior pathway's secrets, but found only regret. Yet Klein's advancement gave the team hope, and Neil insisted they celebrate. He promised to host a party on Friday. Everyone was shocked at his generosity, but for 2 days, Neil failed to appear at headquarters. On Friday, they visited his home. From outside, Leonard heard Neil playing piano a lonely, sorrowful tune. When they reached his house, Klein noticed the door ajar, but it slammed shut. From the window, Neil insisted he wasn't well and told them to come another day. Suspicious, Smith sent Fry and the others away, then tried convincing Neil to open the door. Eventually, Neil relented. Inside, they saw his home in disarray. Neil admitted things had gone wrong, but promised everything would be fine by tomorrow. Smith urged him to come outside, but Neil resisted, repeating that he meant no harm. Klein climbed upstairs only to discover Neil had already begun turning into a monster. Yet Neil still begged them to leave, believing he could recover. Smith, who had known Neil for 15 years, refused to abandon him. Neil finally revealed the truth. He had been experimenting with alchemical life to resurrect his wife. Guided by the hidden sage, the supposed god of his pathway, he believed he had found a way to create an ageless body and summon her spirit back. Smith tried to trap him in a dreamscape, but Neil broke free and counterattacked, pleading, "Please let me go. I don't want to hurt anyone." Leonard then rushed in with a peaceful hair strand, an artifact that drained living beings of their motivation. Using it, they calmed Neil, who realized with despair that he had already transformed. Tears welled in his eyes as he recalled memories with his comrades. He swore he would leave peacefully and never harm anyone, but duty bound them otherwise. Trembling, Smith raised his gun and shot Neil, ending his suffering. Afterward, Klein discovered the alchemical life formula among Neil's notes. It revealed the truth. Neil had used his own blood instead of harming others, leading to his decline. Deeply moved, Smith kept Neil's glasses as a keepsake, while Klein picked up another object from the home. Together, they buried Neil and prayed for his soul. As the ceremony ended, Klein saw a vision of Neil reunited with his wife in heaven. Back in Tingen City, rain drizzles steadily, as though the city itself grieves Neil's death. Leonard, Rosen, Dunn, and Klein are all deeply saddened. Klein goes to Neil's room, haunted by memories and the echoes of his voice. Inside, a bottle rolls toward his feet, and he begins to cry as he recalls the past. On the desk, he notices Neil's diary and starts reading it. Just then, Rosine appears at the door with a letter for Klein from Ozik. The letter reveals that Ozik has left Tingen and is heading for back. He believes the criminal activity related to his son's killers has subsided because of his presence in the city. He hopes his departure will cause them to resurface, giving Klein an opportunity to catch them. Ozik also mentions that he found a mausoleum Klein told him about but couldn't place it. He hopes to regain his memory in Backland. He also leaves Klein a small charm or whistle. As Klein tucks it away, he sees Dunn approaching and quickly returns to reading the diary. A page falls from the diary as Dunn enters. Dunn asks Klein what he's doing. Klein picks up a wanted poster and asks Dunn who it belongs to. Dunn explains that it's a poster for an archbishop named Inch Sangwil, who went mad 3 years ago and escaped with sealed artifact 008. This artifact is incredibly powerful, capable of controlling many people, although low-ranking members are not allowed to know about such high-level artifacts. Dunn describes it as a quill that needs no ink. This detail makes Klein suspect it's either not a written artifact or it generates its own ink. This makes Klein realize that Inch Zhang Will may be the Mr. Z he has heard about, a highly influential member of the secret organization. Dunn also explains that sealed artifacts are created from the emotions of Beyonders who reach the end of their lives, and the items they leave behind. Dunn offers Klein a sweet lemonade, knowing it's his favorite. He then tells him that now that he's a Sequence 8, he needs to understand more about the spirit world. He reveals that every night at 10 p.m., Klein's spiritual tutor, a Sequence 6 spirit guide named Miss Daly, will visit to help him. Dunn also brings the 22 tarot cards that Klein requested, which he plans to use as weapons. The scene shifts to the Benson household. Melissa excitedly greets Klein, noting that he seems very happy. Klein tells them he's a full-fledged police officer now and has received a raise, which he shares with his siblings. Benson, his older brother, tells them that he's also started studying, as he doesn't want to be stuck in a low-paying job forever. He also believes that education is what separates humans from monkeys. Klein goes to his room and uses a spirit room ritual to ensure privacy. He takes out the whistle that Ozik gave him. The whistle is meant to summon a little messenger to help him. When he blows it, no sound comes out. He's worried it's broken, but then a huge pile of bones gathers, forming a skeleton messenger. Klein recalls that this very messenger fought alongside Ozek in many battles. He realizes how powerful Ozek must be to consider such a being his little messenger. Suddenly, the skeleton dissolves as a green presence enters the room. It's Miss Daly. She explains that she is now a Sequence 6 spirit guide and will be his new tutor. Daly tells him she will teach him 2 things: how to summon a messenger and how to communicate with spirits in a way that allows them to delve deep into the subconscious and retrieve answers. She begins her lesson, but Klein quickly grows tired and bored. He tells her he is exhausted, but before she can respond, Dunn knocks on the door. Klein panics, but opens it. Dunn explains that there is an urgent and important mission they must go on. It is also hinted that Dunn and Daly are romantically involved, as they have plans to have dinner together. The mission takes them to the Green Hill Mental Asylum. A man named Ludwig Eugene, a Sequence 7 psychiatrist of the Spectator Pathway, has been captured. He was living as a normal citizen, but they need to interrogate his mind, which is now a jumbled mess. Dunn's nightmare ability is useless, so Klein must use spirit communication to enter his mind. As Klein prepares, Ludwig looks at him and says, "I've been waiting for you. Where's the cake you promised me, Mr. Al?" Klein is confused, but Ludwig begins to rave about his stolen cake, eventually breaking his chains and attacking Klein. Klein uses his tarot cards to bind Ludwig with chains, but he breaks free again. Dunn uses his nightmare ability to hold him in place. Klein realizes Dunn's powers have grown, and he too must be using the acting method. Klein then performs his ritual, allowing him to enter Ludwig's spirit to communicate. Inside the spirit world, Klein is overwhelmed by a mix of light and heavy sensations. He hears sounds and finds himself in a beautiful, luminous place. The spirit world, he learns, overlaps with the real world and holds the past, present, and future. He follows spirits and eventually enters Ludwig's mind. Klein summons his birds to form a mouth and asks Ludwig who he is. Ludwig replies, "I am Ludwig Eugene, a psychological alchemist." Klein is shocked, realizing this is a secret society, asks him what the psychological alchemists are doing in Tingen, but Ludwig doesn't reply. Klein then asks about the identity of Mr. Al, who promised him cake. Ludwig reveals that it's Lanavis, the one mentioned multiple times before. Ludwig's clear image of Lanavis confirms to Klein that he is incredibly powerful. Ludwig then begins to explain that Lanavis told him that he would one day learn who was behind him, and that by understanding this, he would gain control of his powers and eventually achieve godhood, a dream of all Beyonders. The identity of the one behind him is revealed not to be a person, but a god, the true creator. Klein is terrified, and the spirit world around him begins to collapse. The true creator's hand reaches for him, just as Klein is about to be consumed. The scene returns to reality, where Dunn shoots Ludwig, ending the threat. Dunn realizes that the true creator has appeared and that the Aurora Order must be involved. This makes sense, as the Aurora Order worships the true creator, and they may be using the psychological alchemists to cover their tracks. They connect this to the letter that Mr. Z, a member of the Aurora Order, has, which states that doom is approaching and they will sacrifice the city to help their master. Klein suspects that Lanavis is also closely tied to all of this, a theory that Dunn finds highly plausible. The two agree to investigate Lanavis further. The scene shifts to a newspaper report on a new murder case. John Maynard, a former member of Parliament has been killed. His wife, Mary, is seen slapping a woman named Sharon Coy, a high society noblewoman. Sharon's husband, Baron Coy, has also passed away, and her stepson, the new Baron, is always by her side. Mary, driven mad with grief, accuses Sharon of being a shameless witch and tries to harm her, but is stopped by the Tingen mayor, Dennis. It's revealed that Dennis had sent Sharon to John last night, which suggests a cover-up. Sharon shakes hands with Dennis before leaving, while Mary, in a fit of rage, breaks things before leaving in her carriage, giving Klein a piercing look. As she passes, Klein and the Nighthawks investigate the scene. They learn that John died between 9 and 11 p.m., and that the cause of death appears to be natural. However, Klein realizes that this case is connected to the Beyonder world. He remembers that John Maynard was the accountant manager for the same fraud case that Lanavis was involved in. It's too much of a coincidence that John would be murdered just as Klein was about to investigate him. Using his divination, Klein confirms that a Beyonder was involved in the murder. He tries to divine more about Sharon but receives a lot of interference, leading him to believe that she is either an evil person or connected to a very powerful organization. The episode's main story ends, but it continues with a scene in the City of Silver, where a man prays to the gods for mercy. The scene then shifts to Klein in his gray fog, communicating with Justice. Justice tells him that his suggestion for a national exam for civil servants has been approved by the kingdom in Backland. Justice then asks Klein about a secret. Is the second land of the gods mentioned in legends the residence of the true creator? Klein doesn't know the answer, but acts knowledgeable, telling her she doesn't need to know, which scares the hanged man. After reassuring him, Klein asks Justice to help him find information on a famous man, Vice Admiral Hurricane. It is here that Klein learns about the 7 admirals for the first time. Suddenly, a star in Klein's gray fog begins to glow. He pulls it down, and both Justice and the hanged man are amazed, mistaking it for a miracle. The star is the man from the City of Silver, and Klein realizes the language he's speaking is Jotun, a very ancient language. He dispels the star, and a warrior with golden hair appears. The warrior, Derek Berg, sees them as shadows, not humans. He asks if they are gods, and Klein says no, only a fool who loves history. Justice and hanged man introduce themselves by their names. Klein then offers him a tarot card to become their ally, and Derek chooses the sun. Then we jump to a council hall, where a hearing is underway regarding John's death. The mayor expresses his sorrow, while some people demand that Sharon be hanged, believing she murdered John. However, the mayor denies this, declaring that John died of a heart attack. It is revealed that the mayor is under Sharon's control, as is John's wife, which leaves no one to speak against her. The mayor then proposes a political alliance between their two parties. When party members object, police immediately arrest anyone who speaks out, as many people in the room are controlled by Sharon's magic. They praise her, leaving Klein confused. Sharon leaves with the mayor, and Klein manages to get one of Sharon's hairs, which he uses to begin tracking her. Meanwhile, at Sharon's house, other Nighthawks, including Smith, are investigating in her absence to find evidence. Smith finds a photo of Sharon with Chris and then discovers a small safe. As Klein tracks Sharon's carriage, it suddenly vanishes. He uses the hair to track her spiritually, drawing closer until Sharon senses his presence. Using her power, she breaks his detection magic. Klein is shocked, wondering if Sharon interfered with his magic. The next thing he knows, he's back at his detective agency. Wondering what she was up to, Sharon goes to meet her boss, a woman who reveals that Sharon is a Sequence 6 Beyonder from the Dimness sect. The boss notes the city's beautiful scent of suffering and hatred, which is perfect for their sect. She praises Sharon's work in the city parliament and reveals their sect's method. They give people a kind of pleasure they can't escape, turning them into puppets. It is then revealed that Sharon is planning to offer all the people she controlled to her boss in 2 days. Sharon's boss kicks her, warning her that John's incident has jeopardized the Dimness sect's plan to enter the kingdom. She threatens to kill Sharon if she makes another mistake before vanishing, leaving behind an invisible feather. Sharon returns home to find Klein already there, investigating. He also finds the small safe and a hidden compartment inside. He finds a photo and wonders if the person in it is Sharon's old love. But then he notices that the person looks exactly like Sharon, making him wonder if she, like Trish, might have been a man before. He then senses another room and finds a statue of the Dimness sex god. The statue's magic stares at Klein, forcing him back. Suddenly, Sharon enters the house and senses something is off. She begins to approach the curtain where Klein is hiding, but her cat emerges from behind it. Klein thinks she won't check, but Sharon pulls the curtain back, revealing him and terrifying him. We then see a flashback to an hour earlier. Klein is at his home, realizing that Sharon knew he was tracking her, so he needs to be more careful. He remembers Miss Daly telling him that to summon a messenger, he must worship himself. To summon a specific person, he must describe them. But by repeatedly changing the summoning description, he could summon dangerous creatures. Klein then seals his room with his spiritual power and attempts to summon himself using the gray fog. Nothing happens. He realizes that if he is summoning himself, he must also answer his own prayer from within the gray fog. He enters the gray fog world, answers his own prayer, and summons himself as a spirit with the powers of the gray fog and the flaming sun charm. Back at the house, Sharon can't see Klein because he is in his summoned spirit form. Klein informs Smith about the Dimness sect's god, and Smith goes to retrieve a sealed artifact from the Chanis gate. Klein gives him an application form and is astonished by the artifacts inside the gate. A man uses his power to retrieve the sealed artifact, a spirit medium mirror, a grade 3 artifact. It is explained that the mirror shows a different image to each person, corresponding to a different danger. But if a person sees their own reflection, it signifies the greatest danger of all. Smith warns Klein not to look directly into the mirror and explains that it is especially dangerous for members of the Dimness sect, as even a small piece of it can turn them to dust. Smith, Klein, and Kenley arrive at Sharon's house to attack. Smith traps Sharon in a dream world so Klein and Kenley can attack her easily. They enter her room, but the statue of the Dimness sect's god is outside, and its magic wakes Sharon up. Sharon attacks Klein, but Smith captures her with his power. Kenley tries to seal her with the mirror, and Klein thinks it was too easy. Sharon breaks free from the seal as a magical wand takes her place, which attacks Kenley and injures him. Klein realizes that Sharon was not under Smith's control, and everything they saw was an illusion. Sharon tells them that without the statue, she would have been asleep and they could have sealed her. Kenley tries to seal her again, but she switches places with the mirror, causing Kenley to see himself and get attacked by a spirit from the mirror. Sharon then attacks Klein, revealing she knew it was him who broke into her house. She says she's impressed that a Sequence 8 Beyonder was able to fool her. Klein uses slumber charms to put Sharon to sleep. He then breaks free from her control, using his gray fog and fires at her, but she evades it. The body he shot at shatters like a mirror and attacks him. Klein sees that Kenley is badly injured, with his heart pulled out of his body. Klein is shocked and angrily shoots at Sharon, but she dodges again. Klein tries to seal her with the mirror, but Sharon avoids it with her threads and attempts to break the mirror but fails. A stray bullet from Klein hits the statue, injuring Sharon. Smith realizes something is wrong inside. Sharon attacks Klein, and as he evades her, he attacks the statue with a card. Sharon saves the statue and attacks Klein again, slowly freezing his body. She tells him that his efforts are useless and that the continent will soon be in its true owner's hands. She tells him to swear his loyalty to their god and she will let him live. As Sharon approaches Klein, Smith attacks her. Sharon uses her statue to shield herself and attacks Smith back. Klein breaks free from Sharon's power, and he and Smith begin to fight Sharon with all their might. Sharon uses a flower to cast a blood curse on Smith, but he purifies it with his power. As they continue to fight, Klein tries to throw the mirror at Sharon. The two are fighting so fast that Klein can't see them, so he uses his new power to predict her next move. He finds an opening and throws the mirror at her, which begins to seal her. Sharon tries to save herself using her statue, but Klein shoots and destroys it, continuing to shoot until Sharon is dead. He did this to avenge Kenley's death. Smith holds a funeral for Kenley's spirit, and they both say a prayer for him. Klein gathers everything and comes back to find Smith doing something to Kenley's body. Smith's eyes have changed. Klein is terrified upon seeing Smith. Is he losing control, he wonders, but he dismisses the thought, as the captain has been acting like a nightmare. For a long time, Smith approaches Klein, increasing his fear. Smith then tells Klein to stop mourning Kenley's death and asks him to examine Sharon's body using spirit channeling. Klein observes that the captain seems perfectly normal. Was what I saw just an illusion, he questions, yet he notices that something is indeed missing from Kenley's body. All the Nighthawks mourn Kenley's death, with Rosin weeping intensely. Why does this always happen? She cries. Kenley just got engaged. Why did he have to become a Beyonder? Why is there always danger here? Everyone eventually leaves. Klein wonders what Captain Smith did with Kenley's body. Did he send me away to distract me? He ponders. Kenley died because of the spirit medium mirror, which Captain Smith himself had recommended. Klein questions himself. That mirror was necessary at the time, but Captain Smith recommended it. Smith informs Royal that Klein's spirit channeling suggests the Dimness sect might be allied with the Aurora Order and that Lanus's case is connected to the city's impending doomsday. He urges Royal to investigate. Royal asks Smith if the city's doomsday has has been averted with Sharon's death. But Smith denies it, stating that evil organizations never abandoned their plans. The scene shifts to 2 months prior, showing Leno's meeting someone. Back in the present, Klein returns home, distressed by Smith's actions. He writes to Isaac and Daly to inquire about Smith's condition. Klein enters the gray fog world and attempts to divine the abnormality with Smith's help, but he lacks the necessary information. He then tries to divine if Smith's abnormality poses a threat to him, as divining about oneself requires less information. Klein discovers that Smith's abnormality is highly dangerous to him. Suddenly, Isaac's skeleton appears, punching Klein, who is shocked. The skeleton holds a letter from Isaac. The letter reads, "What you've described reminds me of vampires and mutants. Natural vampires vanished even before giants and dragons. But I recall a sequence in a certain pathway called vampire. As for mutants, rumors suggest that normal humans who become corrupted and cursed can transform into monsters under specific conditions. It seems your captain might be a mutant. These are just my guesses, but they do prove that your captain's current state is very unstable and extremely dangerous. You must be careful." Klein then dreams of Smith becoming a zombie, waking up in fear. Smith contacts Klein, informing him that Leonard has found Lenos's house and needs his assistance. Klein goes to Lenos's house. Leonard explains that he found it because Klein obtained information from Hood about Lenos's connection to Sirius, and Leonard systematically investigated everyone Sirius met. An old man identified Lenos from a photo, saying he used to live there and hasn't returned in a long time. Leonard suspects there's a hidden area in the house. Klein uses his powers to find a small compartment in Lenos's study containing a letter. The letter reads, "Congratulations on finding my letter. If you found it, it means you are not entirely fools. You have now qualified to participate in my death and life game. Madness has a price, and those who defy God are never spared. This city's factories have inflicted much suffering on its people, and it is here that our game will be played. So prepare yourselves, you fools. I have placed a bomb in the center of Tingen, and its power grows with time. Go and find it. If you lose this game, Tingen will become a graveyard. Welcome to Lenos's game, my friends." Klein and Leonard rush to the Nighthawks headquarters. Leonard expresses his surprise at a bomb that grows in power over time, suggesting it's linked to some evil ritual that constantly gains power. Klein agrees, speculating that the people's suffering might be empowering the bomb. The question remains, where is the bomb? Klein recalls an image from Hood's mind, suspecting the bomb is there but unsure of the location. Suddenly, Megas Lenos's fiancé arrives. Klein and Leonard are bewildered. Megas had a past mental illness, believing she heard whispers from her stomach. When asked what she's doing there, she replies she doesn't know. She just felt compelled to come. They notice her mental state has worsened. Klein decides to use his spirit vision on her. As he does, his heart races, and his body warns him against looking at her, fearing it will be fatal. Klein and Leonard realize Lenos's bomb is inside Megas's stomach. Klein remembers Rosal's diary, which stated she initiated the Industrial Revolution to create conditions for an evil god's descendant to appear. Klein understands that an evil entity resides within Megus. He questions Megus about her presence. She says she wants to talk to Lenos, and her child told her they would know how to find him. Klein and Leonard are shocked. Klein tells Leonard to handle Megas while he goes to meet Smith. Megas's condition deteriorates, prompting Leonard to talk about Lenos to calm her. Megas recounts her first meeting with Lenos, how he chose her among many girls, and how she fell in love with him. She denies claims that he was a liar, emphasizing how much he cared for her, introduced her to friends, showed her beautiful places, and gave her a necklace as a surprise. A flashback shows Lenos taking Megus somewhere, extracting characteristics from Isaac's son's skull, mixing them with other ingredients, and placing them in Megas's stomach to birth an evil entity. Klein confirms this, stating his spirituality warned him against looking, calling it the child of a true creator. Klein believes this is why Neil's friend went mad while following Megus, and possibly why Neil himself transformed. He also finds it suspicious that Megus arrived right after they found Lenos's letter. Suspecting the mastermind is orchestrating events, Megus becomes increasingly distressed by Lenos's absence, her condition worsening. When Rosin urges her to care for her child, she becomes more agitated. Smith orders non-combatants and civilians to evacuate, and Rosin leaves. Smith informs everyone about the true creator's child, who will be born as a sequence for Beyondra, requiring the help of all Beyonders to stop it. He sends out messages to rally support. Klein wonders if they can defeat a sequence for mythical creature without Isaac's help. Isaac's whistle, which had stopped working when Megus arrived, starts whistling again. Klein quickly writes a letter to Isaac, sending it via messenger, informing him that the mastermind who stole his son's skull will soon be revealed. Klein and Smith enter the sealed artifact vault. Smith senses something unusual and selects the Grade 3, the mutated sun's sacred emblem, noting it was borrowed yesterday. He mentions Tengen only has 3 Grade 2 artifacts, 2 of which have unknown effects on high-sequence Beyonders. He then chooses the Blood Vessel Thief, a Grade 2 artifact that can steal a target's abilities within a certain range, but has a low success rate. It drains life energy from anyone who touches it. Smith instructs Klein, a Sequence 8 Beyonder, to use it for only 30 minutes, planning to give it to Leonard. He is asked what he will use, and he replies he has other plans. An invisible feather appears again. Smith hears the name of another seed artifact, St. Selena's Ashes, which requires special church authorization. However, as captain of the Nighthawks, Smith can use it in an emergency. They retrieve their artifacts and leave. The police evacuate the city, and the church confirms they will handle the situation until reinforcements arrive. Leonard tells Megus about another house of Lenos's, which enrages her. Leonard's shadow urges her to flee. Megus confronts Leonard, demanding to know what he's hiding. Leonard calms her by saying Lenus had a problem and had to leave Tengen, but he will return soon for her and the baby. Megus believes him, trusting Lenos's love for their child. She mentions Mr. Moretti also said Lenos would return and that he could be found through the child. Megus then reveals a voice told her that if she came there, they would help her deliver the baby. The child within her is drawing power unstable, so Smith says he's going up and tells Klein to stay. He also mentions that Klein has received a reply to his letter, but Daly wants Smith himself to explain it to Klein. Smith explains a law in mystical realm. Beyonder characteristics are never destroyed, only transferred. When Smith and Daly learned this, the church ordered secrecy and gave them 2 choices: give all dead Beyonders characteristics to the church, or absorb the characteristics of Beyonders from the same pathway. Smith, unaware of the church's true intentions, chose to absorb the characteristics because it could help digest potion, which is why he drank Kenley's blood. As Megus absorbs power, she loses control. Leonard tries to calm her, but she ignores him and transforms into a monster. Leonard's shadow urges him to flee as the true creator's child is about to be born. Smith rushes towards Megus, who then attacks Leonard. Megus start pursuing Leonard, who flees to Smith and Klein. Leonard apologizes, stating he couldn't stabilize Megus, who has mutated and her child is about to be born. Megus advances, and Smith attempts to stop her with St. Selena's Ashes. She evades him, believing they intend to harm her child. Enraged, she vanishes. Smith finds Megus, while Klein gives Leonard the Blood Vessel Thief artifact. Leonard tries to capture Megus, but she's too fast. She attacks Leonard with her hair, but he narrowly avoids it. Leonard insists they must get her to the memorial hall to survive, and they all head towards it, with Megus pursuing and attacking them. Smith tries to block her attacks, but fails. Leonard attempts to grab Megus again, but she breaks free and attacks Smith. Klein begins performing ritual magic, praying to the Evernight goddess to suppress the evil god's child and Megus's actions. Megus is temporarily trapped, and Leonard attacks her with the Blood Vessel Thief to weaken her. However, Megus, now incredibly powerful, breaks Klein's ritual magic and throws him aside. Smith attacks Megus with St. Selena's Ashes. Megus senses this and attacks Smith, who dodges, allowing her to reach the memorial hall. There, the power of the Evernight goddess suppresses her, causing a massive explosion, and blood streams from Smith's ears and eyes. As everyone moves towards Megus, Smith stops them. He orders them to attack 10 seconds after he engages her, stating they are protecting Tengen and the memories of its people. Klein and Leonard begin counting down. Megus, driven mad by the need to protect her child, begins to destroy everything. Smith unleashes the full power of St. Selena's Ashes, binding her. Megus struggles intensely, then attacks Smith, wounding him. As the 10 seconds expire, Klein and Leonard advance. Klein uses a charm made from the muted sun's secret emblem, which begins to burn Megus, causing her to vanish. Everyone believes it's over, but an attack lands on Klein, cutting his chest and heart. Megus reappears and attacks Klein again. Lena tries to stop her, but Megus frees herself. A figure sent by the church arrives. Megus attacks Leonard, who tries to dodge, but is eventually hit and falls. Klein heals his wound and prepares to use his charm again, but Megus stops him and attacks. Klein rushes towards Megus and attacks her with his charm, but she manages to strike him. Smith rises again, using his nightmare powers to restrain her, making Klein realize his previous injury was an illusion. Smith amplifies his power, and Klein prepares to use his charm again. However, he hears the cries of the evil god's child, causing blood to stream from his eyes. Megus, empowered, throws Smith and Klein aside. The time for the evil god's child's birth arrives. and lightning flashes in the sky. Razin prays for the Nighthawks. In the sky, the true creator from the Hangman pathway appears. No one can move. Smith bravely stands up, but Klein struggles to rise. Smith removes his heart and places it in the box containing St. Selena's ashes, causing blue flowers to bloom. Magus attacks Smith, but he is unharmed. Deceased Nighthawks appear to help Smith gather power. Smith captures Magus, and Klein uses the sun charm on her. Magus and her child are destroyed by the power of the sun charm. "Captain, we did it!" Klein exclaims. "We saved Tingjin," Smith replies. Smith dies remembering daily, and Klein tries to revive him. Suddenly, someone rips out Klein's heart. It's the figure from the church, whose face Klein sees. The figure takes St. Selena's ashes. The voice of Queen of Illused, a grade 0 sealed artifact, is heard. It reveals that anything written with the pen becomes true, and it was stolen from the Church of the Evernight Goddess by Ing. Everything that happened in Tingen was orchestrated by him. The pen explains that Engels freed it from the chain gate to steal St. Selena's ashes, due to a dark deviation. Klein shot himself in Barber's house under the influence of the antagonist's family, but he didn't die. He revived and joined the Nighthawks, killing a Sequence 7 member of the Secret Order, which angered Engels. Engels changed his plan. When Kenley died, Smith absorbed his characteristics, disrupting the digestion process and accidentally bringing out St. Selena's ashes. Engels killed Klein to prevent interference and used the remaining characteristics of Isaac's son to perform a ritual, consuming St. Selena's ashes. This transformed Engels from a gatekeeper of Death Sequence 5 to a Night Watcher of Sleep Sequence 4, becoming a demigod. Tingjin is now safe. Unaware of how close they were to disaster, Leonard is hospitalized. A girl from the church tells him they know the real culprit, and the Red Club organization is after him. Leonard wants to pursue the culprit and asks about joining the Red Club. Benson and Melissa don't know anything. The police have warned about a dangerous criminal. Melissa worries about Klein, but Benson assures her he's a consultant and won't be directly involved in catching the criminal. Leonard arrives, and Melissa mistakes him for Klein. Upon learning Klein is dead, she is devastated at the graveyard. Everyone bids farewell to Klein. Daly cries for Smith. Klein is buried, and Melissa weeps for him. Isaac watches from afar, regretting not arriving in time and vowing to find the culprit. Leonard remembers his fallen comrades. Back at the graveyard, words from Horn are heard, and gray fog emerges from Klein's grave. With a hand reaching out, Klein is back in the gray fog world, his heart regenerating. He repairs the broken gray fog world and questions his own nature, wondering if he's an evil spirit seeking revenge. He realizes Ingalls is behind everything, aided by the sealed artifact Quill of Alutzed, which makes anything written with it become true. He believes there must be a loophole, and that Ingalls' goal was to acquire St. Selena's ashes, not necessarily to kill him. Klein uses divination to find Engels and Lanos's locations and seeks a source of power. The only answer is to go to Backland. Klein visits Smith's grave, prays for him, and then leaves to see his siblings. Melissa senses his presence, but dismisses it as her imagination. Klein is unable to meet them. Benson and Melissa go shopping, feeling magic around them. Klein, disguised as a clown, is there to cheer up his sister. The post-credit scene shows Klein in Backland, the capital of the Lowen Kingdom, giving his name Sherlock Moriarty. And with that, the Season 1 of the series completes. And that wraps up our journey through Lord of Mysteries Season 1. Thank you so much for joining me all the way through this incredible story. Your support, whether through comments, likes, or just watching along, means the world and keeps me going. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video, share it with friends, and subscribe for more amazing stories like this. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.